Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports for yet another live stream. And today we're going to be talking about Indian cricket. Yes, as we all promised, we're going to be talking about Indian cricket in a short while. It's that time of the year where the new cycle begins. The Indian Test team is back in action again in the Caribbean islands. We've got the new faces as confirmed by the skipper last evening, and also some new bowlers as well who's going to make their debut in Caribbean islands. I have Antariksh with me. Antariksh, we've been talking about Ashes and high profile series there. In comparison, this looks like certainly a low profile series. We don't often talk about an Indian series being a low profile series, but then we have to come in terms with this, isn't it, at this point of
Yeah,
stage?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this will be a good confidence booster for us if we, get some cheap victories over. So, I am optimistic and like, come on.
Yeah.
Some of their players just fled the camp after not being able to qualify for the
Yeah.
ICC World Cup to, prepare for the Cycle Pure Agarbatti Cup. So, that's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's see. It'll be. I mean, the only positive light, as you just mentioned, is
Yeah.
Yashasvi Jaiswal and the other lot.
Mm,
Getting up, and it
yeah.
was like due. It was
Yeah.
due. Like we needed some new faces for sure. So that's nice.
True. Before we go into it, let's look at the squads maybe to start off with. Let's understand who all are there because the squads were announced quite a while back, so a lot of people's memory will still not be fresh as to who are the people who are going to be taking the field today. So
Yeah,
this is a squad what we have. Maybe we can put both the squads. Now for the Indian squad, we have Ajinkya Rahan as vice captain, Rohit Sharma there, Shubman Gill, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Ravichandran Ashwin, Akshar Patel, Ravindra Jadeja, Shardul Thakur, no, there is Mohammad Siraj. Sorry, Mohammad Siraj. The very interesting call up is Navdeep Saini there, making a comeback
yeah,
into Indian team after a long while. Mukesh Kumar has had a phenomenal domestic season with the Bengal team, makes it to the Indian national team in Test, and of course we have the likes of KS Bharat who might play, might not play. That's something which we'll talk about. Now let's put up both the squads as well, so it's going to be giving you a better understanding. So if you look at the West Indies squad, it is Craig Brathwaite who's going to be leading this team. Now, let's be very honest, from the World Cup qualifiers team, there are only two players who are going to be featuring in this squad. That is Jason Holder and Alzari Joseph. And that they have a completely new look side. That's something which they've always done in Test cricket. And they
yeah,
tend to fight a lot better in Test cricket in comparison with the limited overs format because of the ballers they have and the conditions they provide for teams to come into the Caribbean islands. And when the ball moves around quite a lot with the experience of Kemar Roach, who's played plethora of games in the county circuit. Then you have Shan Gabriel, who balls pretty quick. Then you
yeah.
have Rakim Cornwall, who's an interesting name in the squad again. Let's talk about Indian squad to start off with. What do you make of it? Very interesting selections initially to start off with. Captaincy remains the same, but other than that, everything else looks like a new gen Indian squad for the future.
Yeah, love it, man. Absolutely love it because there are certain picks that just didn't make sense to me. I mean, like one thing which I think it's a very must-have for all the top test teams in
Yeah,
the world is like a high-profile pace bowler. Like not just he may be Hayward and haywire in terms of his length or anything, but I
yeah,
think you need that one bowler who can clock up 140, 145. And I think
yeah,
Navdeep Saini does that for me.
yeah,
There has to be that element of scare. At least one of the bowlers have to do that with the red ball because when someone hits the deck with 140 with a red ball, it hits different. It just does.
yeah,
So I think I think the likes of Umesh Yadav and stuff, the time is up. I mean, on a big regular, on a very sort of a uniform stage, their time is up. They may
yeah.
play a test here and there, but in terms of their general progression of their career, I think Navdeep Saini and Umesh Yadav would sort of fit the same profile of players in terms of
Yeah.
their pace and how their bowling styles are. So I think
Mm-hmm.
now it's the time to invest in someone like Navdeep Saini. You may not get the best out of him in a couple of
So, but
series.
my question over here is, Navdeep Saini has played for India previously. It's not the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time
he
he's
has.
joining the color for India, but does he deserve a national call up maybe ahead of, you can say, Umran Malik, who could be your future, right? He has done a decent job with Kashmir
See,
in the domestic setup. Now, Navdeep Saini, if you look, he's 30 years old. He's not your
yeah,
future per
yeah,
se. And he did not have the best of times in the domestic circuit as well. For Delhi, he had a horrendous season and he too, looking at that, had a bad season with the ball.
yeah,
I know he played a lot of county games, but barring that, not quite there as a bowler, you would say.
yeah. I think that is where these things don't happen overnight, because that is where I feel the Indian cricket is sort of lagging behind in terms of they're just going behind names. Is it like
Yeah.
Navdeep Saini, had he been, when he was, when he had that when he had those couple of seasons in IPL, you know,
Yeah.
just take it like life. I mean, Umran Malik, if you take for example, I am not the biggest fan of Umran Malik, but what I
Mhm.
know his potential, just because of the rarity of the skill set which he's got, which is pure pace. So I
Yeah.
am ready to, bow down and say, well, this guy has to get chances in Test cricket. So that is where I
Mhm.
feel Navdeep Saini, if he was given that better treatment, Umesh Yadav had his like pick of 8, 10 years and stuff. There
Yeah.
was a guy named Varun Aaron.
Yeah.
They were tested
Yeah.
had he been invested properly. Because see, when they play Ranji Trophy, we know Indian tracks for proper seamers are not the best, especially the
Right.
Delhi track, which like wears off after day two, day three,
Mm.
for which he plays his Ranji Trophy. So I think if he was given a better setup, a better sort of environment, maybe he would have gone to Australia, or
Mhm.
England, plays county cricket there, and
Mm.
just developed in the 3 4 years. Then he would have been a
Right.
potent bowler for us in these overcast. All of these overseas conditions and stuff. But now,
Right.
as you rightly mentioned, that he's 30 years old, I still
Yeah.
think he could give us 4 5 years if again we don't, like suppose Jasprit Bumrah gets fine and we're just ready to chop off someone like an Avdeep Saini there. Mukesh
Yeah.
Kumar, all right, he's you test him out, you give them the time, because
Yeah.
then that is how these players develop into what they are. They just don't become international stars in like a couple of series. So yeah,
Right. That's a good point which you make, because you did not use Navdeep Saini when you had to use him, and
yeah,
now you're picking him out of nowhere. You just picked him out of
exactly.
thin air, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at that last performance, I think he had against Derbyshire in the
Yeah,
county game, 29 overs, he went for 122 runs, and he just picked up a sole wicket, and he
yeah,
was going at 4 runs per over. Now you're looking at Navdeep Saini. I mean, he's still young to an extent for a fast ball of the modern era, but if you compare him with an Anderson or a Broad, you can see he's
yeah,
way too young. But well, the fact of the matter is, you talk about prime of fast bowler hits differently for
yeah,
different fast bowlers. Now,
yeah,
for Navdeep Saini, when he was in his peak in 2019, you felt like he should have been getting a test game, where he led
yeah,
Delhi to the final in 2018.
yeah,
Remember, under Gautam Gambhir,
yeah,
everybody talking about this guy. Oh, who is this
yeah,
Navdeep Saini guy? But now you're talking about Navdeep Saini, who's been low in confidence. Poor IPL, did not get a single game there, went to county, got hit around like he was balling anywhere else. He just got that one sole wicket, and that he was like a bowling machine. So no disrespect, but then he was like a bowling machine. I saw some of the
yeah,
highlights. He was being treated like a proper bowling machine there. They were like setting him up and going after him. Now you picked
yeah,
him for India squad. Why I brought in the comparison of Umran Malik especially was you can maybe invest in him right now. Then let's see
exactly.
how he goes. Because we've only seen
Yeah,
Umran Malik, the white ball bowler, and I still think Umran Malik might not have the best of white ball careers, but I'm pretty sure in red ball format on the last day of the last
exactly,
session, you want a wicket to make a ten. You saw with Mark Wood what happened. You can do a
exactly.
similar
Yeah,
thing. You never know with Umran Malik. So that's what I'm at least against West Indies, you should have gone there, but I'm not sure if
absolutely.
he's going to play today.
Absolutely agreed, man. That's what I'm saying, because if we again now miss the thing with Indian cricket is, we don't get those pace merchant kind of bowlers like throughout our
Yeah,
history. Like we've had barely any who could clock up 145 and then be lethal as well. We've always
yeah,
had a mix of, if they're full of pace, then they're wavered in their line and length. So
yeah,
that is where, the international team setup, you would have to sacrifice a couple of runs for a couple of years. Yeah,
yeah,
they would go out, they would be smacked around here and there. But when they get that international experience with the red ball, you're
yeah,
giving them experience with the white ball, because white ball you can get smacked and you can ball a slower ball and you can have
yeah,
a catch out, and then you'll be called successful. But
yeah,
this is a different game altogether. You need to hit the deck, you need to keep hitting it for 30 overs in a day, and
yeah,
that is when you could get a couple of wickets and maybe you'd be the bowler. So I
yeah.
feel these are these some of these. I'm very happy that Ruturaj Gaikwad and Yashasvi Jaiswal have made it to the squad. Very very happy. I was really pissed about the omissions. See, of course, I'm not saying you omit Rohit Sharma or you omit Virat Kohli, but I just thought, because they don't get brand deals and they don't get Instagram pictures done. I think Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara are always first in the line
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, they're the
cutting
first
marks.
line of firing for
And
sure.
like, what's the basis of now keeping Ajinkya Rahane? That he scored runs in IPL, and
Yeah.
that's how you keep him in Test cricket and you
And
make him
remember,
play
he's back
the
as vice captain. Let's add that into
exactly.
the tally as
You
well.
he was the vice captain. He was chopped off the team. You
Yeah.
bring him back after he has played quote unquote a fast IPL. I mean, it's all over the place, man. Even
Okay, I'll
Navdeep
just give
Saini,
him
as we
due credit for his
discussed.
knock in WTC final. Let's just give him due credit there. He played a beautiful
See, of
89
course,
in
he
there.
did that. But they always say, you don't look at the selection by the outcome. You look at the selection by the process you've selected.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
yeah.
you look
That's
at the
there. There's a
outcome,
lot
you'll
of
say,
questions.
yeah,
Absolutely, a lot of questions. I think today's discussion, I know it's India, West Indies, but I think the question is deeper rooted over here because of the
yeah,
Indian team. I know West Indies team, we will come to it, but I would like to ask you another question as well because you mentioned about red ball success, and the greatest example out there is Mohammad Siraj. He was
absolutely,
tormented as a white ball bowler, like he was taken all over the place. Then you gave him the red ball breakthrough in Australia, had one good series and had a better series against England at home.
yeah,
Then that IPL, you saw Mohammad Siraj with a lot of confidence. His white.
absolutely,
Similarly with Umran Malik as well, you give him
absolutely,
that red ball breakthrough and see how it goes. If he gets success, you will see an Umran Malik of a different mode altogether. Give him that
absolutely.
white ball. Then he's going to be like, I've done it in the toughest format. Ain't nothing going to stop me once it comes to white ball format. So that's exactly the mindset I'm talking about with ballers. All of these ballers are confidence ballers. They've got the pace, they've got the skill. It's about them having a couple of good performances. And again, this West Indies squad, I thought there was no other better opportunity for
Yeah,
him to get international success.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're on point because again, man, I just can't see the progression. I'm sorry, I'm going on a bit of a rant. Like, what? Of course, he got Saurashtra very far into the Ranji Trophy and stuff, and like he was the captain.
Yeah,
And but like, what is the point of Jaydev Unadkat now at the time of his career?
yeah,
Like you need to have at least a couple of bowlers that we can see
yeah.
are doing it for us in the next 5 years. I can't even name one.
Now, I'll tell you a very interesting point, Antrix, just to stop you there.
Yeah,
Navdeep Sen is 30, Mukesh is
yeah,
30,
yeah,
JJ was 32. He made his debut in 2010, remember that, and he played one
yeah,
solo test match against Bangladesh.
yeah,
Okay, I can understand you went back to him just on the respect that he's been a workhorse in domestic circuit. He's
yeah,
won championships for Saurashtra. Agreed. I totally respect that. But then, is he your transitional bowler for the next cycle? Okay, then you can say
exactly.
this is just one-off series. You'll say a completely new squad come the South Africa season at the end of the year. Because remember, we're going to be touring South Africa in December, and
Yeah,
then we're going to be playing 5 tests at home against England. Then Bangladesh is going to come home. Then we're going Australia, the Border Gavaskar Trophy in Australia, which is a massive test. The cycle isn't
absolutely.
easy at all. You're going to be playing against
Mm.
the best of teams, home and away. So you have to be looking at the future if you have to play that final in
Absolutely,
2025, wherever on earth it is going
absolutely.
to be. And I don't see any future progression over here. That's why
Exactly.
I'll question the selectors.
I don't know. Of course, there might be some other reason, but I don't know where is Hardik Pandya. Like we have seen what Ben Stokes, Chris Wokes, throughout history, Jack Scullis, these fast bowlers who can bat and bowl great as well are so elite for this test cricket. I mean, I just don't know what we're doing with Hardik Pandya. Does he not want to be a part of the setup, or are we not looking at him or something? So I mean that's to be seen. I don't know, man. Shardul Thakur,
Yeah.
well and good. He could get you a wicket anytime, or he could score a 50 or 100 anytime you don't expect out of him. But yeah, I mean for the long term, I would just have Hardik Pandya, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was just looking at the squad once again, for everybody's reference. But let's talk about the major talking point. I mean, let's talk about the Indian batting. That's why everybody's excited about it
Yeah.
because the statements are very clear now as to who's going to bat number 4, number 3 for Team India. Rohit Sharma has made a very clear statement that who is going to be batting where. The statement is that Shubman Gill wants to play at number 3. He wants to play. That's what Shubman Gill wanted. So he is going to be
Oh.
slotted in there, and hopefully this becomes a long term. It's just well as an opener because they were desperate for a left hander. So I'll give a very interesting stat
Oh
over
my
here,
God.
Antarik.
Shikhar Dhawan would be
Since
upset.
2016, India is the only team who has had the least number of left handers, that is 6. And India is the team with the highest average for left-handers in the world, which is 39.74. Primarily that being with Rishabh Pant and Jadeja leading the runs for
Yeah.
India. But you're talking about what I'm talking. You hear what I'm saying, right? India haven't really tried a lot of left-handers since
Yeah,
2016.
yeah,
Shikhar Dhawan was thereabouts. Then Rishabh Pant and Jadeja, who are the predominant batters. If you look at
yeah.
left-hand batters, just sole batters, you don't have anybody. Rishabh Pant is a wicket-keeper batter. Jadeja is an all-rounder. You
Yeah,
never had a left-hand batter to go out there and do a job. And one of the reasons why India became so much more one-dimensional as a team, you could set up a bowler like a Scott bowler to come in and hit one line. He's not going to be keep changing. There was no rotation, and it was
absolutely,
just bowling to a one-dimensional ball. It was
absolutely,
easy to get Indian batters out for that particular
absolutely.
reason. It was just bowling to right-handers.
I mean, exactly. That is what I'm saying. That we don't seem to have a specific methodology to what we're doing. Like it's just
Yeah,
names. Rishabh Pant is a lefty, तो ठीक है वो lefty है, that's a byproduct. You've not
yeah,
chosen him because he's a lefty. All right,
yeah,
He's Kohli, so he's right-handed. Oh, Rahane is Rahane, right-handed. Pujara, right-handed. Sharma,
yeah,
right. So they're just names, and whatever they happen to be, we just put them in. That's the thing,
yeah,
Travis Head wasn't a name. He was tried
yeah,
out. I don't think he had the
yeah.
best in the world kind of a Sheffield
Exactly,
Shield record. He was just
exactly.
tried out because they had one of their sort of
Yeah,
couple. Sometimes they keep changing their
yeah,
opening pair. So at least
yeah,
one left-hander is there. Then they have
yeah,
two maestros of right-handers, and then they wanted a lefty. So that's where Travis Head came in, and we've seen how it's gone for them. So that is where I believe. I mean, there just seems to be, and of course, Kohli comes out in press conferences, and Rohit Sharma come out very defensively. Oh, look at our record. We played the Test Championship final. Well, that's not again. We're like it's good when it happens once in a while that our bowlers rescue it feels very great that the spirit is high, but
yeah,
when each and every one of our victories are like we are 120 for 5 and then there's a 200 run partnership for the sixth and the
yeah,
seventh wicket. I mean, that's not really cool. You remember a time when if I put it up on a football analogy, so like a
yeah.
team goes down and then they make a comeback. So one game it's pretty cool, oh my god, they actually came back. It's cool. Like for United, I say, oh Fergie time. This is the United
Mhm,
way. Stuff,
mhm,
stuff, stuff.
mhm,
But
mhm.
then if you have to do it game over game over game, you're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, 2-1 down, 1-0 down, 3-0 down. That
Yeah,
becomes a habit. That means something is not right, and that's been
something's
happening.
not right.
I think we are seventh or eighth in the whole world in terms of our average for our top four, which is shambolic for
Yeah.
someone who's played two World Test Championship finals. So
Hmm.
that just tells
I mean, if you
actually
look
how
at Antariksh again,
yeah,
what really surprises me is that we're not looking at it now from an element of what we should be looking at. We still
exactly,
fanatic as a nation for top players. We love Rohit Sharma, we love Virat Kohli, we love the big stars. But are we going to be talking about the fact that these both haven't really scored runs in the entire cycle? Well, Rohit Sharma did score a lot of runs in comparison to Virat Kohli, but the fact of the matter is, he's not been convincing in the big occasions, Rohit Sharma, for that matter. I mean,
absolutely.
you talk about big series, he's not really been there. Or for Virat Kohli, okay, he scored that 49 in the WTC final, but then, what do I say? He had a poor WTC 2023 cycle.
Exactly.
He had an awful season for that
Abel,
matter.
there's no batsman in the world except Babar Azam, who's also very young into his career, who plays all three formats. Like the
Yeah,
conventional big players, we know they all sacrifice or they're just not chosen. Like if like that's the problem with us. We want to make them heroes in everything. We've seen Kohli. He's probably the best player in the world for this generation or something. Comparisons to Sachin, I won't go there, but there are comparisons, so that's enough. But he has done his job. He would have to give up one of the formats, or if not him, it's not just a dig at Kohli. He's my
yeah,
favorite player. I absolutely love the
yeah.
guy. But it's like a whole scenario, Rohit
It's a whole
Sharma.
scenario. We're talking about
Because,
longevity over here, right?
exactly, like you have
Jolo
Rohit
did it.
Sharma, who
Steve
scores
Smith did it.
264. Go on, go
Yeah.
on, go on.
No, I'm just saying that Jolo did it. Steve Smith did it. Kane
Exactly.
Williamson did it. I mean, and Kane Williamson is
Exactly.
not taken away from a format, but I think it's going to be taken away very soon.
Yeah,
Or
he isn't really played in T20s that often. So there you go.
yeah, exactly. So you have to maybe give up on one format, and I don't really blame them. But now I see that particular call being made by selectors and Hardik Pandya, the captain, that now these both are not picked post the World Cup in any of the T20 series. Now, which is good. But at
Yeah,
the same time, let's be very clear, or at least let's make a very clear announcement. Okay, we're not looking at Rohit and Virat anymore. Let's make that very clear. Let Hardik be appointed as the captain. Let's have
yeah,
clarity. Why
yeah,
are we saying that he's interim? Now that's not going to help Hardik in the long run. It's not going to help any of us in the long run. Let's make Hardik the captain. He's the captain. That's it. If Rohit has to make a comeback, let him work his way out because he's had an
yeah,
awful IPL. You tell me Rohit should be there in
exactly.
the T20 team, I'll be laughing because His record in IPL is 19. He averaged 19 in the last 3 seasons.
And it's
And
been
we are
for
talking
quite
about
some time now with Rohit Sharma in limited overs cricket now.
exactly, and that's what I think we should be. Second highest score for India, is that justified when we compare it among all batters? Okay, now we're talking about Rohit being the second leading run scorer. That's why I said Rohit was good in the last cycle for a fair bit, especially you talking about the England series in 2021 where he was a catalyst for us to get that 2-1 lead. He did score 100 against Australia and Nagpur. He has got his patches, but if you're talking about consistency, Rohit hasn't really had
No,
it.
of course,
He scored runs.
that's the difference again. Now he scored runs in a test match. No, there's no denying. But then he hasn't in the limited formers cricket. So
Yeah,
of course, workload has to be managed for them. Like there's
and not just
no
that.
batter in the world who's at the top and plays all except Babar Azam, who's just done it for 3 4 years.
And even if you look at Babar Azam for that matter, there are a lot of people calling out for his head in T20 because of his strike rate, and we're not going to go
Strike
into
rate,
that
yeah,
discussion for some reason. But what I want to say is Rohit Sharma as well. He was a second leading run scorer, but if you look at the average he had, if you look at the runs the entire team had, we were awful in top four, top
exactly.
six. Rohit Sharma being a second in that, and when it's not a lot of runs, that really asks questions as to what kind of season we've had. We couldn't score
Exactly.
runs at home, guys. We have not scored runs away. Now, where are we supposed to score runs? Before, at least we could say, "Oh, come back home. We'll show you who we are." But
Yeah,
now we're not able to say that as well. घर पे नहीं
yeah.
खेल सकते हमारे batters. Now, what are we going to do? Where are we
I
going
think
to
we have
play?
to we have to make pitches like that have to end games in 3 days because that's our strategy at home and it frankly is becoming a bit boring now. You
Yeah.
all out teams you play 3 innings in one day and the test match is over by like 2 days 3 days which come on.
Yeah, I think we should be more proactive. Now the biggest question is, I know this discussion is going way too long, but then it's very important because I told you we're going to be having a full-on live stream on Team India, so I hope you guys bear with us. You can keep asking your questions. That's something which we'll take. Keep asking all your questions. So the biggest question is Rohit Sharma going to be a captain in South Africa series? It doesn't look like it for me personally. I think post 2023 World Cup, you will see Rohit Sharma give up on captaincy completely. Now, why I say that is because there's a clear sign why you brought in Ajinkya Rahane as a vice captain. Now, there is definitely communication that Rohit Sharma will not be captaining, and he doesn't seem to be very pleased in captaining in the test format. It's very clear. You saw it in the WTC final, you saw it in the Australian series. He looks like someone has forced him to captain, and that's not a good thing to have. You saw in Virat Kohli era, there was a captain who was so excited for every ball which a baller ball.
Absolutely, we
Now
really
that's what
messed
you
it up,
want from
man.
a test captain. You saw, I'm no disrespect to Dhoni, but Dhoni, the red ball captain, towards the latter end of his career, you saw a very similar look on his face that
Yeah,
he was not very interested in doing what he was doing in red ball format because the red ball format demands are different, right? You are going to be in the field for what 5 days into
I think
five to
that
20.
aggression factor really plays up for Kohli in like because it's 5 days, it's like 90 overs every day.
Okay, now it's a very interesting. What do you say? Drop Rohit from everywhere? Oh, we know we're going there. We're not going there. But what you're saying is Rohit might have to give up captaincy somewhere in order
Yeah,
for him to manage workload. It's not helping his cause as a batter. Now that's what we're suggesting.
yeah. It's not a dig at any one person. It's just the whole atmosphere and the kind of the methodology which is sort of missing from the selection of Indian cricket and how people are selected or omitted for that matter. So yeah,
Captain, yeah, he has to give. No, yeah, exactly. We don't know which captains he has to give up, but certainly it looks like the the red ball format which he has to give up because white ball format I still think is good in the one day format. The World Cup is there now. You can't change any captain at this point. Now you use your captain for the World Cup. Now
yeah,
T20 you
of
can say
course.
Hardik is a captain. Let's have the transition smoothly. Now why I say Rohit will not captain South Africa series by going to complete that point is because you brought in Ajinkya Rahane as a vice captain. Now,
He too,
you couldn't
he
have
too
possibly
doesn't
appointed
seem to
Ajinkya Rahane
stick
as captain
around.
for this series. Now, that would have been a lot of hue and cry, right? If Ajinkya Rahane would have captained the series, then you're going to be like, you just played one test match and you gave him captaincy. Now, you can now integrate him. Three test matches here, two test matches here, two in South Africa. That is where the change is going to take place. Now, will Rohit Sharma be available for selection or not is a different question. But Rohit Sharma, the captain, might not be there. Then you're going to see a new deputy. It could be Shubman Gill, it could be
Yeah,
Shreyas Iyer, it could be a Rishabh Pant if he's fit. Now that is where the transition is going to take place. I'm making big calls over here, but I think that's where it's going to go.
yeah.
And
I think that has to be because even if Rahane is like Rahane again, the age factor comes in, and again I don't see him, working out for so long just purely because of the fact that he himself is not stagnated his position in the team right now. So yeah,
Exactly. So you have to go in a very smooth manner. You couldn't have appointed him as a captain. So the best way is to bring him as a vice captain, maybe make him captain for
Yeah,
this cycle and see,
yeah,
because Ajinkya Rahane's record in Australia is great as a captain. So you will still want him to captain Australia series, maybe an English series as well at home, then see how things go. But I don't see Rohit Sharma as a test ball captain. And I agree with uh I agree with Born Master Gaming as well. He's a good IPL
absolutely.
captain. That doesn't make him a good test captain. No, test captain is a different ball game altogether.
Absolutely.
And I was very
Who would have
shocked
thought
that
Pat Cummins? Who would have thought
exactly,
Pat Cummins, But like he
exactly,
proves out to be a gem without any limited format, proper experience or IPL, Big Bash experience as such. He was just given purely on his stance in the international team and how he is as a person or a leader or in the group. And there you go. These are the things we need to make out a call for.
exactly. Another thing is also that when Rohit Sharma was given the captaincy, he was not groomed as a vice captain because until then it was Rahane who was a vice captain of Team India. So the transition was never smooth. It was like all of a sudden, okay, you're the captain now because Ajinkya Rahane is dropped. So that was not the way. Or not even you. Maybe you could have gone to even a Pujara or maybe even Ashwin. You never went
Yeah,
that way. Who had
man.
mainstays in Testy.
Ashwin would have been. My pick and choice was Ashwin, and he has had abundance and abundance of experience. The only player that I've heard about in terms of their mental strength, apart from Dhoni, throughout these years, has been Ashwin. He is
Yeah,
a master of the game. He's a servant of the game. He loves the game to bits. Like Harsha Bogle was like going on a ferry about how much Ashwin actually likes, like he was doing this Indian
yeah,
stuff. And then the other day he was in the TNPL auction. Then
yeah,
the other day he was streaming about South Africa versus England and stuff. Like
yeah,
he's just a fan of the game and he
yeah.
just reads it beautifully.
Yeah. Now let's come to the big question. I mean, we loved Yashasvi Jaiswal in the
Yeah,
IPL.
yeah, yeah.
Phenomenal time in the domestic circuit as well. Did score a lot of runs. Very, very flashy, very flamboyant. Knows how to play spin and pace very well. Was a good hooker of the ball. What do you make of him? What do you reckon his future is going to
Oh,
be? Because it's different. International
exactly.
cricket is different. First test match is always going to be very jittery for you as a player. It's
Yeah,
your big day, right? It's your big day. It's your first
yeah,
ever international game and it's a test game. It's not a T20
yeah,
game. It's a
yeah,
test game for nation. And
yeah.
Yashasvi's story is a story for everybody. A lot of you who do not know, 3 years ago, he was selling Pani Puri in, one of those Maidans in Mumbai. And from there to get the Indian test cap today, oh man, it gets me goosebumps talking about it because every kid dreams of such stories and he deserves it every bit. He deserves it every bit.
Absolutely, he does. He does. I mean, again, but I'll take the small negative point out quickly. I'm just sad that he has been given his call up not on his Ranji, backing, but on because he scored the fastest IPL 50, and I think that is just plain and simple where Indian cricket is being driven. Had he had a poor IPL, can you tell me would he have been selected for the Indian team? See, that's the thing. You play 30 balls in an IPL game and you might score 80. But is that justification for you to come out at the biggest stage for Test cricket? So that's where I'm very happy. I'm very excited. He gets me excited. I really want an opener who can play his defense very well, who is a
Yeah,
clean hitter of the ball, but can also score some quick runs. And I
yeah,
don't mean it in a baseball way. I mean it in a way when
yeah,
in Australia is pumping us and they're throwing short balls as us, he can
yeah,
just hook it one into the Sydney cricket ground stand.
yeah,
I mean that. So
exactly.
someone of the Rohit Sharma's ilk, who has the shots in his repertoire
Yeah,
as well. The last time I was this excited was for Prithvi Shaw. That didn't end well,
yeah,
because he was one of those as well who used to play shots
yeah,
out quickly. But let's see, man. Very excited for Ruturaj. Of course, he's
yeah,
maybe not going to get a game this
yeah,
time, but very excited for him as well. He also seems a guy who has the complete book of test shots.
yeah,
And of course, excited for Shubman, who comes in at a number three
yeah,
space, which is one of the most challenging in test format. So looking up to see how he reacts to. He's also one of those guys who'll maintain a healthy strike rate of 60, 70. He'll play his shots, but he'll also have a very solid defense. So let's
yeah,
see, man. I hope it's a battle for ages. Marnus Labuschagne versus Shubman Gill. Who's the
yeah.
better number three? Let's see.
Yeah, I think it looks like that. At least the era looks. I always felt Shumban was never an opener. I always
Hmm.
felt like he started off in Punjab as a number 4, number 3, and he really did well there. He was averaging 150 at one stage and on age level crickets, and that's what you're talking about. And
Hmm.
in international cricket, I felt because of that aggressive intent he's got,
Yeah.
in certain conditions he tends to put his bat, slightly away from his
Yeah.
body, trying to play
Yeah.
that, gets
Yeah.
edge, and he might
Yeah.
look a little bad. Maybe number three, where the new ball be slightly more older. I hope the openers gives us good start that Shubman can
Yeah.
come and play his own shots. That's another thing. But yeah, that's what
Absolutely.
I'm talking about. Shubman at number three excites me, and Yashasvi's domestic record is crazy. 80
Yeah.
average, 900s and 250s. Now he scores 100 every time he scores a 50. Now that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
900s and 250s and average of 80 in 15
Wow.
matches. Now at a strike rate of close to 67, he bats even faster in the recent past. So that's another thing. So
Yeah.
Yashasvi is the one, is like the kid straight, the generational star, you would say. Now you
Yeah.
had Ganguly and Tendulkar, Dravid and Ganguly, and now you're talking about Shuman and Yashasvi for the future. So
Haha.
the generation is
Let's
here.
touch
The
wood.
next gen, that's what,
Yeah.
yeah, the next generational stars are here for us. But hopefully, Ishan Kishan is also making his debut in Test cricket. Now, what do you have to say about that?
Oh, I think you know my thoughts about him. Love it. Again, I need a Rishabh Pant. I need a Travis Head, Cameron Green, Alex Carey kind of a player when you're 4 or 5 wickets down. Absolutely, Johnny Bairstow. These ilk of players. Brendan McCullum used to come in there. Adam Gilchrist used to come in there. These 4 or 5 wickets. You just need someone who can just turn the screw up. It's such a pivotal position. You'd either be 120 for four and they'll score 15 like 50 balls, or you'd be cruising with 300 and you want to declare, they'd score a 50 again or 50 balls. So any of these situations, they become absolutely massive. And Ishan Kishan is someone who could fill that gap. He's again someone who's not the most conventional when it comes to hitting his shots. So that is where I think maybe the old ball or spinning it around the 60th over mark when he'll come in, or maybe when the second new ball, where in there's not much pressure for him to
Yeah,
test out his defense or stuff. As we've seen with Rishabh Pant, he comes in and he plays a shot.
yeah,
He gets us off sort of the pressure, and that's where I believe I'm very excited for Ishan Kishan as well. And hence the reason I have sort of a bad relationship with KS Bharat, who just
yeah.
reminds me of Riddhiman Saha again and again.
Okay, for me,
So
I've always had one issue with Ishan Kishan is that
yeah,
he looks technically very vulnerable as a batter,
yeah,
right? At
he
least seeing
does.
him in opening batting positions. But I've also noticed that one thing with Ishan Kishan, you give him a clear head, he's a different player. You put some
Mm,
bit of confusion as to see Ishan, you can't be reckless. Then all of a sudden he becomes extremely conservative. So I think it's going to be very important for team management to make sure that you give him a very clear head
clear
as
rule,
to
yeah.
it's okay you getting out in the boundary in Test cricket. Now that's the confidence you give to Rishabh in
Yeah,
Australia, and you saw what you got. Now, if you're ready to give the same thing to Ishan, because he's got the potential, you saw what he
yeah,
did in 2017, 2018, 2019 when he
absolutely.
burst into the domestic circuit. With Jharkhand, he could come and turn it around, score quick hundreds. He's got the potential. The talent doesn't go away overnight, guys. It's a mindset which makes a player or not. Talent is
Absolutely.
embedded in that player, and that's one thing very clear. Now, if you will say better, a guy simply cannot score double hundred by sitting and playing Game Boy cricket. You have to score double hundred by
Absolutely.
scoring it. So
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
got
yeah.
something about him. So
Mm,
I personally think it's very exciting. At least if he has a decent series, we can say, oh, we are safe to say we have a backup for Rishabh. Now, that's the
mm,
biggest question over. We don't have a backup for Rishabh. And that's one of the primary reasons we lost WTC final. Let's be very honest about it.
absolutely.
Rishabh
Absolutely.
would have been a massive factor there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And I think it's going to be a test between KS Bharat and I don't know how they're going to choose. It's only two tests. But as you said, in that South Africa tour, I mean, just on purely on the basis of your wicket keeping, but also as a batsman, that position is going to be so important,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
important. And I just hope we get a good series out of our fast bowlers as well. Again, they'll be very pivotal in that series. Ball comes really hard and fast there. Like Test
Yeah.
cricket, to me, I mean, Test cricket in South Africa is just very different. I just feel,
Yeah. It's very
they
scary.
also
We
had
never won
one
a test series
immortal.
there. There's a reason why
Yeah,
we've not won a single test series in South Africa.
exactly, and we really pushed it up when Marco Jansen got that
Yeah.
great series. I mean, that was
Yeah.
for
To
us
win.
to take, man. They rarely had any experience in their squad, but let's see this time.
Yeah. It was Virat Kohli's last test series as well. So we'll remember it for a
Yeah,
lot of reasons. But yeah,
Yeah.
we came very close there. You can say DRS thing does not go our way. It was 11 against the world. That's what some of the players made statements there. So let's hope it's not
Yeah.
that way around. But at least in West Indies, it's more joyous, it's more colorful. Let's talk about West Indies squad finally. Uh,
Yeah.
Exciting names: Tagner and
Mhm.
Chandrapal. India will be very familiar with that surname because one player who was really troubled India in Caribbean islands is that man. His son is now there in the team. Jermaine Blackwood, another player who had a decent 2016 series. Craig Brathwaite has generally done well against India. He's a very solid player, but
Yeah.
this game comes in questionable against quality spin. Then comes the fast bowling trio of Holder, Roach, Alzari, Joseph. They are good at any wicket in the world. You
Yeah.
put them in any good wicket, they're going to trouble any of the top batters. And that's a
Yeah.
quality they have. They've gone and challenged Australia. They've challenged England in England. They've defeated England at home a couple of times. So you're talking about a good fast bowling unit there. The only issue is going to be their batting. It's a new look batting for the new age. You've got Alec Alcaznes. You got Joshua De Silva, who's a very gritty keeper who can come in number 7, not give away his wicket very easily. Jason Holder can handle himself with the bat. Jermaine Blackwood, another aggressive player with the bat. Tagner and Chandrapal once again has got that elegance and class up front. So that's
Yeah.
a West Indies squad, for a small squad, but definitely has got their mindset very clear in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
Test cricket, what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And as you've mentioned, fast bowling is the base for any good Test team. And I think Alzari Joseph, and especially the duo of the experienced Kemar Roach and Shannon Gabriel, I think that'll be very important. To be honest, I don't really expect much from West Indies, to be honest. And it's not me taking them lightly, but I just feel, as a cricketing nation, that they'd be deflated right now. I mean, like it's a huge
But do
blot.
you reckon that's also a blessing in disguise? But there are only two players from that World Cup who
Of
qualified
course.
Debackel who part of the squad, and this Test squad is totally different in terms of what they had in white
Hmm.
ball.
That could be a good form of distraction, but that's where I believe they're lacking too much experience. And of course, we've seen India. When it comes to stat padding after a poor loss or something, we are one of the best at it. So I just believe we'd come out as all guns blazing, but against whom? But yeah, man, whatever it is, I think that is the confidence because we've seen the number of changes, the host of changes. I don't think had this been a series against England or Australia or I don't know, would you have dropped Cheteshwar Pujara? So who know? Yeah. So that's where I believe. I think India, even Indian borders confidence that let's go. And it's Ajit Agarkar's debut as well as the selector. So let's see how that goes.
Exactly. That's very interesting from that perspective as well. That's about it from the whole discussion on the India West Indies series. I mean, we had a lot of things to talk about, especially when it comes to Indian Test team's
Yeah.
future, which looks slightly under gloomy skies at this point of stage because of what's been
Yeah.
happening all across. We're not sure about who's our captain going to be. We're not sure about our next transitional fast bowlers. I know there are fast bowlers out there, and very interestingly, I read a piece yesterday which says India are on a hunt for young fast bowlers. They're going to come into the streets and pick you up. Now, if you're a lucky fast bowler in the street, just watch out for Jay Shah and TRDW, like how Dhoni was picked up years ago.
Yeah.
So something similar. Just go out there, show your skills on the streets, on every gully. You never know. You could be on a hunt to, you could be on a plane to NCA, and you could be a next big star. I never thought I'd be talking about this like this. I thought India had a lot of depth in fast bowling a year or two ago, but we have come to that levels as well. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, it's good. Everything is good and fine if you have a good project and vision and plan. If some really good talents get opportunity, that's great. Or else it's okay. Because I
Yeah.
still believe there are some really good ones in the IPL, like Mohsin Khan, Yudhvir Singh Charak, uh, Avesh Khan. If you really groom him well, he can be a good
Mm-hmm.
one.
Bhavesh
Yash
Khan, good
Thakur.
one.
So there are some really good ones. So
Yeah, yeah,
you are
yeah,
not grooming the ones that are already there. You're ready to go for the next one. So that doesn't really make sense for me.
yeah. Yeah,
So that's about it. And let's see how other things go. There's a
absolutely.
Duleep Trophy final, which is going to be played in South Zone and West Zone as well. You can see some of the players who are in action there to see who are the next gen stars. Sarfraz, Surya Kumar Yadav, all these lads are there in action. Sarfraz has had a poor show once again, so which means he's going 7 months down the line again. So that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching this. Do not forget to share and subscribe to our channel and also give a follow on our Instagram page. And if you are new here, check out all the videos which are posted on our channel. We might be exciting you with some analytical content as well. And if you are an aspiring cricket analyst or a football analyst, do not forget to check out our course with Mad About Sports. The link is there in the description. Thank you once again and have a good time. Bye bye.